Thank you. Thanks very much, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the kind acknowledgements, and I hope that maybe one day I might be a parliamentary colleague of yours, Anne and Mary Jo. First of all, I'll explain about the wheelchair. About 8 weeks ago, I was hit by a car while I was riding my bike, a four-wheel drive, and there's something quite amazing about having a truck bearing down on you and thinking a lot of things in a very short period of time, including, oh, this wasn't part of the plan. Anyway, luckily it was just a leg and a knee injury, and I was actually allowed out of the wheelchair on Monday. Very happy about that. Had my campaign launch last night, which was amazing and great. Got carried away, danced on the crutches, and my legs swelled up. So I'm back in the wheelchair for today, but I'm definitely on the mend. And the good news is that I'll be allowed to drive and walk around again about the day after the election is over. So that's been very, very good timing. Senator Sarah Hanson-Young is our Greens spokesperson for development, and she sends her best wishes. She has a lot of admiration for the various organisations that are running these forums. She kindly let me come along today to speak to you, and I'm really grateful for that, because this is actually an area that I'm really passionate about as well. It's a fundamental issue that we're exploring today, that of global inequity and fairness, and particularly the way it affects women, and it is dear to my heart, and it has been since I was a young teenager. And I came to understand about the lottery of life, really, where I realised that really it's just an accident of birth that dictates whether we live in poverty on this planet and have little power in the world, or whether we live with the excess like many of us in the developed world. And unlike, I think, some Australians who somehow think that our luck or our fortune is somehow deserved, and that people who aren't fortunate somehow don't really deserve it, of course we all know that it's not a matter of luck, of fault at all. It's just a matter of just luck, really. And so I guess I've been troubled by that since I was young, and so I've done what I can to work to change that. I joined the Adelaide daytime group of Community Aid Abroad when I came to Adelaide in the 1990s, and I had a baby, and that was great because it was actually a group of young mums who got together during the day and had our toddlers under 5, I'm really thinking about that, running around at that time, and we did a lot of work in various ways, and it was a very important way for me to be able to communicate and connect with those people who also shared my values. Interestingly enough, one of those young children of mine, and I have 3 children who are now pretty much grown up, my baby's 15, my awesome 18-year-old daughter is actually in Tanzania at the moment doing a gap year project and teaching in a school in Tanzania and going through all that learning, and we've just had some amazing phone calls from her. A particular concern of mine has been, in fact, that some companies like Nestle will promote baby milk formula instead of breastfeeding, and that's been a passion and concern of mine over many years since the 1990s, and in my public and environmental health teaching I actually set that as projects for people to investigate. I still remember one time when I'm a lawyer by background and training, and I still remember one time I'd been in my legal work, I'd finished, I walked down the road to where there was a conference happening, and Nestle was represented there, and in my lawyer clothes I joined some of my friends who weren't wearing lawyer clothes with our placards and our banners, and I had a few of my colleagues walk past and look a little askance, I think, of what I was doing, and I just felt that these issues are so fundamentally important. We have to speak up all the time. It strikes me that a company that will put profits before principle and encourage women to use their product to make profits, basically, when there's no need, and in fact we know that often leads to disease and death in the children, so that the children, the innocent victims, really pay the real price of that promotion. So let's come quickly then to the 3 questions that I understood were posed today. The first question was, does your party support Australia meeting its promised share of overseas aid and development funding at the 0.7% of gross national income? And this is an easy one. I can answer this one succinctly with an unequivocal yes. The Greens' policy is to increase aid to 0.7%, in fact, by 2010. And our view is that we signed up to this, so we have a moral imperative to go with it. And it seems to me that often in these sorts of areas we actually lack some real courage and leadership from government. My belief is that if we communicate the importance of this, then it's something that a lot of Australians, I think polls have shown, in fact, will support, because it is when we talk about the large scheme of things, it's actually 70 cents in $100. And I think that the logic and the fairness of it communicates itself to most decent Australians. So I think we just need some leadership on it. Let's come to Millennium Development Goal 5, and that's the improving of maternal health. I'm pleased to be able to offer you a sneak preview of a broader policy that the Greens will be announcing very soon. With only 5 years to go until 2005, we know and we've heard that this is where the least progress has occurred and which one is least likely to be achieved, the improving of maternal health. And yet we all know, in fact, and the statistics are chilling, really, they're horrifying when we hear them, and we can hear them over and over, and each time I think it doesn't take much to realise how different our position here is in Australia with that of our very near neighbours. As we've heard in our immediate region, 34,000 mothers and 400,000 children under 5 die each year. We've heard that most of those deaths are from preventable causes, so poor neonatal care, diarrhoea, pneumonia, malaria, malnutrition. We also know that Papua New Guinea, a place that I've visited where I had a sister living, so again I'm a bit dear to my heart, is a recipient of the largest proportion of Australia's aid funding and has the worst rate of maternal death in the Pacific. Clearly, Australia has a moral imperative to act. Currently, of our total aid budget, we only spend 16% on health. That's a figure of about $600 million. Compare that to other countries that are similar to ours. Ireland spends 34% of their total aid budget on health. The US spends 32% and Canada 30%. We need to give a fair share of our aid budget to health, and it has to be long-term and it has to be predictable. And so one of the policy announcements that will be coming out very soon is that the Australian Greens are committed to Australia doubling that figure from 600 million to 1,200 million, which will take it from 16% to at least 20% of the total aid budget on health. In terms of Millennium Development Goal 3, promoting gender equality and empowerment of women, clearly education is crucial to this, education and literacy. It means that women then have the ability to read and think and develop ideas and to be able to articulate those ideas and really start to participate fully in the way the society is being governed. That's not enough, of course, because there's other very gendered structures that interfere that need to be worked with as well. But certainly education and literacy are huge. And we also know that if we educate a mother, we actually educate the whole family. So there's a lot of, obviously, very good reasons to increase those. There's also reproductive health programs because, of course, once women start to have some control over their reproductivity, they gain more autonomy and that will lead to more power as well. And again, I'll suggest that we will be having a policy announcement soon from the Greens in relation to that. So I commend TIA Australia and the MICA Challenge and Make Poverty History for having these forums. They're happening all over Adelaide and it's wonderful. Our Greens candidates keep coming to me and saying, I'm going to write a Make Poverty History forum, and I noticed that you're actually having a different focus at each one, which is great. And I think they're cunning and clever because as I was preparing for this, I realised that I was reading that information that you sent me so that I was well versed, and I thought what a great way to communicate to us who hopefully will and are making decisions the things that matter and the background information that's so necessary. And the other thing I thought was really interesting was, in fact, it helped to identify for me gaps in our own policies because I was going through and looking how they worked. And in terms of developing and empowering women, although it's obviously, clearly a green sort of commitment, I was thinking, no, we need to start thinking really carefully about how we can actually allow that to happen. Just saying we'll give more money isn't enough. We actually have to work out the strategies for doing it. So it's a really good strategy, I think, and I commend you on that. So I'll finish by saying that I'm proud of our Greens policies. Across the board, really. I'm really proud of them. I've come to know them very well in relation to this campaign. They're carefully thought out and they're principled. And if I had to sum up what I think the Greens Charter and the Greens philosophy stands for, it's two words, and we've heard those today actually. One is kindness and the other is fairness, or justice was the way it was put, but kindness and fairness. And I think that's because everything that we try to do in terms of Greens policies and philosophy not only thinks about kindness and fairness to Australians and people, but people around the globe and to other